What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Project Time Garage. Well, for all the guys that have been asking about the Pathfinder, well, today's your day. We're going to get a few things taken care of on this. You know, I gotta say, this has been just a jewel of a little car, man. We have ran the wheels off of this thing, and it does great. But all that being said, has a few issues that we need to attend to. Actually, the first issue I see right off the hand, I left my hat and glasses up there. Wow. Now let's get back to work on the little Pathfinder, or the trash finder as we so lovingly call it. Yes, I have two identical pair of glasses, is what it is. The first issue we're going to deal with is the tach. Because that's what it does. I'm no metallurgist, but I'm pretty sure we're doing way more than 0 RPMs. Actually, this tach, as you're driving down the road, it does eventually start to work, but it is extremely erratic when it starts. In fact, it is so erratic that you can actually hear the needle slamming against the pegs back and forth in there. I hope we're just dealing with a bad solder joint. I know a lot of vehicles, when they start getting this age on them, that starts to happen. So first thing is first, let's figure out how in the world we get the dash out of this thing and the cluster out of this. That ought to be fun. Well, right off, I see that there is a screw here and a screw here. And I don't see any more screws anywhere. Wish I could have found a longer screwdriver. Well, it looks like that pops down. And I assume something else has to pop down too, right? Oh, yeah, there's another screw there. So I'm assuming I need to take maybe this screw loose. Anything else? No, maybe this screw, maybe that screw. Whoa, that just came right on down, didn't it? Now, we have one right there. And one right there. Oh yeah, it's already trying to fall down. Perfect, it wants to come out. It's dying to. I wonder if we should tilt the wheel down or something. Okay, wheel tilted all the way down. Does that make a difference? Hopefully. Is it gonna make me take the... No, it's not. I was gonna say. Thought it was gonna make me take that off. Don't want to. All right, we have more screws. One here. One here. One here. And one here. Okay. Screws out. Then what? Ooh, it's Clusterville. Hey, look at that. Well, we need to unplug all these. All right. You have 4 plugs to deal with. 2 on this side, 2 on this side. In order to get them apart, they have squeezy tabs on both sides. So you got to pinch them like that and squeeze to unplug them. But on the back of the cluster, it's basically a plastic circuit board. Flimsy, flexible, floppy plastic circuit board. One thing that I did find that's really interesting though, check it out. A lot of these traces are labeled. And that's pretty cool, I gotta admit. I've not really seen that before. Anyway, we're gonna have to go in here to the bench, pull this thing apart. We're gonna have to get on, get some service information in front of us. And we're gonna have to figure out what is going on, you know, what wire is for the tach. Start doing some tracing and just see what, you know, what the dealio is, yo. So let's put this thing on the bench and see if we can figure out how it comes apart. Well, I guess, I wonder if we can start by popping these loose and just kind of see where it takes us. I'm not sure exactly in what order all this stuff has to come out, but I assure you there is an order to it. Yeah. Oh, it's coming. Okay. Gotcha. At least this thing isn't really brittle yet. I guess I probably just jinxed myself, didn't I? It means the next tab is going to break, isn't it? Ooh. Fun times. Yeah, I'm a kid. That's interesting. So this one, it always returns. This one does not. Wonder if that makes any difference to anything. Well, let's see how it comes apart. Luckily, I can't, even if I lay it down like this, I shouldn't be breaking anything, hopefully. I would be willing to bet that all three of these are tack. Oh, it's falling apart. Yeah, I would say that's it. Okay, well, look there. We have a genuine, oh, there's circuitry, there's a capacitor. Ooh, okay. So just so we know, yeah, those three screws right there hold the tack in. Okay. Let's set this out of the way. Well, I may be a very dumb boy. I'm going to pull this needle off of here, and I'm going to pull these two tiny screws out. And we're just going to have a look at everything back here. There's a Zener diode there, there's a diode there, there's a capacitor here, there's an IC chip here, there's what appears to be a, I don't know if that's a resistor or inductor, I don't know what that is. Here, but either way, there's two more resistors here. A lot of times, wherever there's heat, we're prone to have problems where heat builds up. I'm hesitant to pull the needle off with it resting here, but I know that if I put the thing on there and go as far as this motor can move, that it's pointing right here at this. So I'm going to take my paint marker and just put a little dot right there so I know where that needle was pointing in the future. At this point, I should be able to just spin it and pull it off. Hopefully. Okay, well, that either worked or that broke it. I don't know which, but we'll soon know. Let's pull this off. Okay, and this is what we're left with. A PCB to the PCB. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my spectacles on and I'm going to start looking at this really hard and just see what we got, because I assume that our problem is going to be one of these connections is, well, I don't see anything ugly about that. And I've taken my multimeter and I have checked all the individual ICs, or all of the little surface mount components, and everything is measuring okay. So what I've done is I've screwed it back together here, and we're going to take our needle and we're going to stick it back on there. And we said it was pointing, I don't know, somewhere along like that maybe. Sounds good. I'm going to put that back on there. We're going to go back out. We're going to put this in the car like it is, and we're going to just kind of massage and touch on this board a little bit as the car is running. and we're going to see if we can affect that needle at all. Okay, we are plugged back in. Careful not to damage any of this. Okay, that's interesting. The tach just set when I turned the key on. I don't remember if it was doing that before or not. Did we just inadvertently fix it? No, we did not fix it. Oh, oh, look, look. Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah, there you go. And what I'm doing to make it do that is I'm just barely touching it. Anywhere on this board that I touch it, it works. But it seems to be very sensitive to this area right here. So is it actually working, or it is working? But that right there is kind of what it was doing going down the road. Just the, oh, it bit me. It didn't really bite me. All right, so something over here is unhappy. Oh great, now I've fixed it, don't even know how. Let's reflow some solder on everything in that corner and see if that makes a difference or not. Well, I think since this is the area up here that was so sensitive, I think I'm going to reflow these, maybe these 5 here. That would be this capacitor, this diode, and this zener. We'll do those, and then we'll put it back in there, and we'll see where we're actually, I already see it. I'll be darned. I see what's broke right there. Wow, there it is. It's the leg of this capacitor right here. I'll try to blow this up enough for you guys to see it, but right here, I know that light is terrible. Right here, you can see a ring around this. That is going to be your problem, lady. Before I do this, I'm going to put just a little bit of flux on here. And that should just help my solder flow out just a touch better. So we'll reheat all these. I'll clean that off there, the flux paste off there. We'll go put it in the truck, so we fixed it just that easy. All right, long story short, that did nothing. But what I did notice is, oh, I went ahead and re-hit all of these too while I was at it. But what I did just notice is this. I had it on the car and I had it running, and you know, you could still barely touch it up here and barely flex this board and it would work. What I noticed was I took a sharp pick and just touched right here, and it started working and kept working. And I mean, I literally just barely touched. My idea was I was trying to bridge these two, and it worked. Well, I could wiggle the board and it would stop working, and I could take my little scribe and just barely touch it and it would start working again. So now I'm thinking that maybe one of these 2 pins may be my problem. So I'm going to try to gingerly reflow these 2 and just see what happens. But I'm using way too much soldering iron for what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to try to get the first couple. And if it comes right down to it, we may have to go get go to my lab and get a smaller gun. Okay, welcome to the laboratory. This is the area where I film Project Time Tech, which is my other channel, my new channel. If you haven't checked that out, I'm gonna go ahead and put a link right up here to it. Go check it out. Project Time Tech has a lot of stuff like what you're seeing right now, a lot of techie stuff. Here I have a soldering iron with a much smaller tip. Let's just run it all the way up, as hot as it'll go. Oh yeah, check those speakers out. This is going to be another episode of Project Time Garage, probably along with this radio. Considering putting those in the Datsun, just kind of, you know, it's period correct. So yeah, we'll see. Okay, the idea here is going to be to resolder just about everything on it that I haven't already hit. Starting with the rest of this chip. And the rest of these surface components. I think I've hit about everything else there. Alright, that is basically everything. I have hit all of it at least once, some of it twice. Yeah, I've hit everything. That should be every bit of it. Well, nothing to do it but to take it out there and see what happens. Place your bets. Oh yeah, it's already working. It's not flippy or nothing. I can affect it by touching my hand, but that's just resistance from my hand, I think. Well, what do we have for bulbs? They all work? Yeah, the bulbs all work. Check this out. That's pretty handy information. 60 miles per hour equals 1,024 RPMs. Well, this is how we know if our needle is set right or not. Okay. Also, I've got an issue with my fuel gauge. But I have a feeling that that is in the tank. I think I've got pump problems with that. I think my sending unit bit the dust, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, let's get all that put back together. But before I do that, while I'm in here, the fuel gauge thing. So I believe we said that, well, that's interesting. The fuel gauge shares a ground. Okay, there we go. So evidently B21 is a ground. Fuel gauge gets its ground from here. I think it gets its ground from there. Yeah, so the fuel gauge gets its ground from here, gets its power from this side, and then A8 is, I guess, goes back to the sending unit. So A8, that's connector D, connector C, connector B, A8, that's a yellow and green wire. Yellow and green wire is wire 1 on the next page. Here's the next page. Wire 1, yellow, green. Yeah, fuel tank gauge. And evidently it is a resistor to ground. Okay, or well, it's a potentiometer. I think that's what they're calling that, or a variable resistor. I don't know. I don't know my electronics. Either way, it's like most sending units. One side is down to ground, and the other side is goes up to the gauge. So basically, it's measuring resistance to ground on this side. In order to find out if it works, you can go back there to the tank and just flat ground this yellow-green wire, and your gauge should peg. If it doesn't, you either have a bad wire or a bad gauge or something going on. If it works, then your fuel tank is, or the sending unit is having issues. So I think what we should do while we have this thing apart, I think we should find that yellow and green wire, and I think we should plug it all back up and back probe it and give it some ground and make sure that our gauge actually still moves before we go a lot further with this. I mean, after all, we've got the cluster out on the floor, may as well, right? Well, this is the back probe set I'm going to use. Another super handy little cheap Amazon thing. I have broke this sucker out. I should just keep it out on the table because I use it about all the time. I'll stick a link also down there for that as well, if you're looking for something that's you know, makes life easy to work with. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this cluster. We're going to look at all the connectors back there, find the yellow and green wire. We're going to take this right here, this needle, and we're just going to stick it in the connector, back probe it. We'll plug everything back in, and then we'll bring this tail out, and with the truck turned on, our fuel gauge will probably be down to empty. I moved it to full with my finger. We should be able to take this, tap it to ground, and we should see the fuel gauge go ping or pong or something. Something should happen. Let's go see. Looking at these connectors, we look back here to the back, and we see this is the yellow-green wire. Pretty simple stuff. I'll take this handy yellow and green, and we'll just basically stick right in the back of it. Just like that. Plug it all up, and then we should be able to see what's going on. So let me do that. Okay, we're plugged in. We're back probed. I'm going to turn the key on. Interestingly, yeah, there goes the fuel gauge straight down to 0. I'm assuming that's because it doesn't see a ground of any kind. So while it's going down, I'm going to take the other end of this back probe, and here is a ground right here. So I'm going to clip it onto the ground, and there goes our gauge working its way back up now. Well, that tells me that I either have a broken wire between the gauge and the tank, or my sending unit's gone bad. That's what that means. Probably the next best thing to do would be to go back there at the tank and ground that wire at the tank and see what happens. But first we'll get this dash stuck back together. Well, there we go. Our dash is all back together again. Let's see what happens when we start it. Yep. Still no gas gauge though. That's okay. That's next. That was easy. Let's move on to this fuel gauge, see if we can figure out what's up with that. Well, to get the pump to the pump, which is right around in here somewhere, just need to pop this up, and we'll pull the carpeting up. We should be able to get to it at that point. This has these little Phillips head screw things that are pretty much just worn out, but the idea is you're supposed to unscrew them, and they're supposed to just pop right out, but they don't. And there's what we're after. So there are the 3 wires. Interestingly though, yeah, that's yellow green. I thought it kind of looked yellow blue there just a little bit. And this is our ground. Okay, well, I guess it should be just as simple as, actually, let me move you down here so you can see too. This is our yellow green. It actually looks a little bit yellow blue, but you know, who's counting? This is also a good, that's also good for piercing things. So I'll just pierce right into that wire, which is totally good for them, by the way. And I'm going to turn the key on. Heard the pump spin up. And at this point, I'm going to take this clip and I'm going to clip it right to ground. So there we go. Now let's go and see what's going on with the gas hand. Oh look, nothing is going on with the gas hand. Do we have a broken wire? Do we have a bad ground? Maybe it's bad ground. We can check that by removing it from here and popping it onto that. That should be a good ground. Nope, no movement. That may be yellow-green, but man, it sure looks yellow-blue to me. Let's go look at the diagram again. It shows a yellow-green and a yellow-purple. I wonder what the fuel pump. I don't see the fuel pump on any of this. Fuel tank gauge unit in fuel tank. What does that purple or yellow-purple go to? It's number 3. Comes out in B16. Gotta find B16. There's B17, B18, B14, B19. You say my battleship. B16, there it is. Oh, okay, so that is the low fuel light. B16 is. Interesting. Okay. I don't know. That's interesting. I don't have exactly the same wires there. I don't know. Let me do some researching. Well, we got her up here on the lift, and I have popped this connector here loose. This is the one that goes up to the tank, and I'm not so sure that's. Ooh, that's ugly. Look at that. Huh. I wonder if that's got anything to do with it. Right there. I need to be looking at that a little harder. Anyway, so I think what we need to do is exactly what we did before. And oh, look here, this is the wire we were probing before. We were probing this blue. They changed colors, and the schematic doesn't mention that. Somebody's been here before. There's our green with a white or yellow with a green tracer right there. Let's do this. Let's pop this connector loose completely. That's the one right there. Then let's get our test probe and let's just pop it in there like that. And we will come back here for a ground. Maybe right there. Good. Now, when I turn the key on, we should get a readout. We do. There comes our fuel hand up. Okay. Well, we're getting somewhere anyway. So that tells me that all of my wiring all the way up to the front is good. But when we were testing at the sending unit up there, we were testing the wrong wire. You know, the schematic says that it's a yellow with a green trace going all the way back to the pump. Well, we were testing, I guess, a yellow with a blue trace, which looked green. That wasn't the right one. I don't know what that one was. It may have been the fuel light. Who knows? But here's what we do know. We do know that up there at the pump, there was just a plain yellow wire that didn't show up on any of the diagrams. But we see here that this yellow with the green, the one that we're supposed to be using, actually turns into the yellow wire. Look at that. So I say we put all this mess back together, lower the vehicle, and maybe take the floor back up again and ground the actual yellow lead. And that'll basically, we can test it from the sending unit all the way forward. If all that's good, I need to order a sending unit. Simple enough. Also, I noticed that the ground wire, check this out. Let's see, was it this ground wire or one of these ground wires was a mess. Here it is, look at this. This ground wire is almost in two. We need to fix that while we're under here too. Okay, so I'm gonna just go ahead and Oh, look at this. I see more stuff. I found a problem. Check this out. That right there. That is not hooked up anymore. That's mouse chew. What that is. Let me go ahead and strip this back. That's what's wrong. I don't even have to take it down anymore. Look at that. Found it. That's your problem right there, fella. Yep, there's your problem. Damn rodents. We need to fix both of these while we're here. Well, there's my repair. I actually went ahead and had some of that wire loom that is braided. Stuck that on there, weatherproof crimped the connectors and all that. It's not my usual half-ass repair attempt. We'll call it maybe 9/16 to 5/8 ass. So it's better. Well, while we're here and while we have it up in the air, let's take a walk under it and just have a look. I don't think I've ever really spent any time underneath this thing looking at it. There are those adjustable shocks. I wonder if you can still buy those anywhere. Looks like it's still got both of them. No rust. Thing's in great shape underneath, isn't it? Look, that is a Nissan muffler. Wow. Is this light too bright? Let's try that. Catalytic is still pretty good intact. Brake proportion and valve. I wonder if that's why I've got an ABS light or something going on. I have a brand new ABS light that popped up not long ago. Looks like I've got a little bit of a leak here from well, I'm not sure where that's actually from, but it actually is wettest around the plug, the fill plug. Maybe I should be checking that. Dry up here. Bottom of the trans is basically dry. Oil pan's dry. Motor's dry. Oop. Looks like I got some leaks coming from here somewhere. The jack out of the way. Let's see if we can figure out where this oil leak's coming from, because it's a good one. It's really dripping off here. And it's really, I got a drip around the oil pan. It doesn't appear to be coming from the plug. It looks like it may be blowing back. You can see it's on the exhaust right here too. Looks like it may be leaking up front here somewhere and blowing back. Don't know. Have to investigate that. One of these days, probably wouldn't hurt to have a set of bushings under it. I wonder how ugly. Is it just rear ABS that it has, or does it have also front ABS? I'd put a set of ball joints in it too, probably. It must be just rear ABS then. That's all I can tell. I assume, I don't know. I don't see any wiring for it. Not sure how it's counting the wheel revolutions. But I'm not seeing it. Well, there you go. That's the underside of the Pathfinder. It's pretty good shape for a 1995 Pathfinder, isn't it? All right, moving on to the next problem, which is a problem I created that I get to fix. Here's the next problem. Yeah, I did that. This is what it's supposed to look like. See, this thing has a wing, or has a spoiler, or I guess it's a wing, I don't know, spoiler, that goes on the back of it. I've looked through junkyards and I can't find another Pathfinder that has that wing thing on it. Some of you guys out there that are Pathfinder gurus, do you know? Is this just a rare factory option that I can't seem to find anywhere, or is it common as can be, or did somebody just add this? Because it's actually part of the hinge of the actual glass hinge. This is the part here that broke off of it. Sits up like that, and the spoiler sits across it. Sits across it up there. Sits up here like this, and the spoiler sits across that. Yeah, I broke it. I was kind of slipping through the woods one night and went to slip under a tree that was partially fallen in the road. Wasn't a very big tree, even if it had fallen, and it wouldn't have probably done anything. But anyway, I guess I just misjudged the height of that rear wing just a teensy bit. Tore it off there. So, since I can't find one of these, I guess I'm going to try some good old-fashioned JB Weld. See if I can put it back together the right way. Well, here's what I've come up with. Looks like this. And pretty sure that's going to work out okay. I've been using the Dremel in order to kind of shape it and make it fit, but I do see that it's not quite good back here. And I was just doing kind of a proof of concept to make sure that once I got the JB Weld on here, yeah, we're going to JB Weld it. Once I got the JB Weld back on here, I had some way to keep the thing squished together. It's a very odd piece. It's really tough to try to put it in a vise or anything. So let me cut these loose. It actually sticks together pretty well by itself. Looks like over here on this side, it looks like I have a little bit of stuff in my way. The idea is just to try to get it worked so that it fits together as tight as we can get it to fit together. Oh, that's the hill we're going to die on right there. I'm going to mix up plenty because this stuff's getting old anyway. Okay, where do we start? I guess we start with this area here. All right, ugly as original sin, but hopefully we can get it to stick together. What I did before was I just ran this through there. Like that. I'm going to run this one through there. Now, of course, I'll end up having problems with that zip tie getting JB welded on there, but I would rather deal with that than I'd rather deal with grinding that off and having to clean all this up think. I'll have to take a file to the back of this, probably clean it up. All right, it's going to sit and look just like that for 24 hours. Well, it's been a couple of days, and this is the finished product. I managed to do it and not get my hinge glued together, so that's a good sign. I guess the thing to do now, I'm going to use a Dremel, and I'm just going to try to clean this up some, make it look a little bit better. I don't want to take too much of it off. I just want it to not be quite as noticeable. I'm going to just I'm going to shape it a little bit here, and then we'll paint it black, just to kind of hide some of the ugly. And I have to make sure that I get all this off the back and that there's nothing on any of these threads. So I'm going to spend some time cleaning all this stuff up. I'll come back. Well, that is it. Sanded down, and like I said, I don't want to take all of this JB weld off. I want to keep it a little bit, a little bit taller than the crack, just to give it a little bit more reinforcement. Spritz it with a little bit of black paint and see what it looks like back on the vehicle. This is what we ended up with. Not too bad. You can tell that there was a repair done versus this one. But I have a feeling once the wing gets on there, you won't be able to tell. I had to find some different screws for this side, because this side got pulled out. So hopefully these, they're not going to look exactly the same, but maybe you won't be able to tell. Let's see. Jeez. Hey, Mopar Garage. Hear those acorns falling? Told you I feel your pain, brother. Look at this. These are all acorns everywhere. And I'll blow this thing off about twice a week. We've got them everywhere. It's crazy. That's the oak tree that's above my house, or that's above my garage. The interesting thing about this oak tree though is it's a hickory tree on one side and an oak tree on the other. See the bark differences? See the leaf differences? Pretty crazy. I always thought it was one tree, but it's not. It's two trees right there. Man, they are old. Anyway, when those acorns fall, they will wake you up. Now, there we go. See what I mean? I'm gonna die out here. Anyway, that's a finished product. That's what it looks like. Not too bad at all. You know, the worst part about this, back about 2 or 3 months ago, I actually had this wing off here because it was really bad sun faded. I had this thing off, I sanded it down, I found some paint that looked right, painted it. It looked like $1 million, and then I did that idiot move with it. Oh well, what are you gonna do? All right, I only have one more thing to do on this thing, and it's a tiny thing. Imagine this. You're driving down the road, quietly sipping your coffee every time you hit a bump. Yeah, I don't like that. See, I'm a sucker for original OEM like components and stuff. I love it when an old vehicle has all of the stuff that it came with, you know, things like, you know, floor mats and original ignition keys and owner's manuals and that kind of stuff. I just think it's cool that that stuff stays with the vehicle forever, because so many times it gets lost. And I didn't even know at the time, I guess I didn't know when I bought this that there was even a sunroof cover available for these things from the factory. I didn't realize they came with them, but they did. In fact, I got it on eBay and just kind of was perusing, and I ran across this one, and I paid too much for it. There's no question about it. But you don't see them very often. They're scarce, and to find one, you know, that's in good shape is even more scarce. Still has the original, you know, labels and all that stuff on it. I'm actually using a push thing for the jack, and then another one of those I bought on eBay, a retainer. There's a guy on eBay that sells, let's see, let me show you. They're these things. They just basically go up there and they turn a half turn and they lock the shade in place. And there's a guy on eBay that sells these, and I bought a set of them, but if you look, it's not straight across anymore. And that's because the plastic that he printed them out of doesn't hold up to heat. So in the summer, you would pop these things in and lock them in, and you would come back to your car like 2 hours later, and these things would be laying on the ground, and both of these things would be bent straight up. And if they were really hot, you could just take your finger and just push them back in place and cool them off, and they worked good again. In the winter, I don't imagine that'll be much of a problem. So I got a buddy of mine who is going to 3D print me some of those in a plastic that will stand up a little bit better to the heat. But that doesn't fix my rattle, does it? No, it does not. The basic gist of it is this and this, they hook into these little hooks right here, which you probably can't see due to the washout of the light behind you, but it's just a little bit loose in there, and I think I can find a way maybe to fix that. Let's go see what we've got in our stash. This is what I think I'm going to use. It's heat shrink. It's red heat shrink, so it matches nothing on my interior. Perfect. I think we can just set it right up there like that. It's a good quality heat shrink, so it should shrink down enough. This is where we burn our headliner out of our car, isn't it? Now, hopefully it'll cool down and I can trim up that edge a little bit, or maybe not trim up that edge. I don't even know if I need to or not, to be honest with you. Well, I decided to get the little torch involved because it's a little more precise flameage, and I can work on it too, you know. Like so. With those on there, I should be able to take this and see if it fits on here or not, or how well it fits. Oh, that's it actually, I think that's going to be exactly what I was looking for right there. Let's go put it back in the vehicle and try it. But that has a lot of drag to it. That's good. Look at that. Perfect. Much quieter. Excellent. While we're really picking away at our little Pathfinder project here, there's a bunch more that we're probably going to do with it. I'm kind of getting it ready to spend a little bit of time in it this winter. I think when it's rainy and mucky and gross outside, I think I may just use it to, you know, to beat around a little bit in. It's been a good vehicle and I trust it, so why not? So anyway, look for more stuff coming up on this, but for this episode, I just want to get a few things out of the way that were just driving me bananas, and we did. So anyway, appreciate it, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around here, and I'll see you next time.